Great. Go ahead, Laima.
All right, so my presentation, I made a very small PowerPoint for you guys. So what I did is this summer, I stumbled across that there are these things called free little art galleries. And I didn't know that they existed. And I was looking at my pile of things thinking, hey, I have a bunch of used stuff that could make one of these. But then where am I going to put it? I live in the middle of 22 acres. I could put it in my yard, but then it's really limited to me and anybody I invite over. I could put it by my mailbox, except I share a driveway and that's easement. So then that presents its own problems. I could put it in the tiny little town that's nearby, but then I'm stuck managing it. So I found a friend who really likes miniatures, and she was so happy to have this installed in her front yard. So this is what it looks like when it was all done. I would say that the build was pretty unremarkable. It's just assembling a box with a door and a roof and then waterproofing it. Whoops. I don't know if you guys have heard of the free little libraries. I suspect that's more likely to have been heard of than this free little art gallery business, but their general slogan is take art, leave art, or just enjoy art. So anybody can stop by and drop stuff off or take it or just encourage other people to go. The requirements for the build were that it was weatherproof because it's outside 24/7, 365 days a year. It needs an easy to open and close door. I found that the doors and leaking are the most common problems that other people run into. And it needed some way of hanging art on the inside. And we really wanted to get it in before the weather thwarts us. Turns out, if I don't have a firm deadline, I procrastinate a lot. So I ran this idea by her in like June or July, and I didn't get it in until December. But I think the thing that would be most interesting to you guys was to see all the different ways that you can plant a post. This was the most stressful part for me because it's not my yard, but I had to figure out how to do it. I think everybody is familiar with this post hole digger. They're a pain in the butt. Pouring cement in somebody else's yard would be a pain in the butt. If they ever want to remove it, it's a pain in the butt. This is one of these things that most or many mailboxes are set with these. So you hammer this into the ground. But my friend Hillary lives in a very residential neighborhood, and I didn't like the idea of hammering something loudly. And then I didn't know what kind of dirt she had. So I didn't know if we would run into field stones or junk. I mean, I know in the backyard there's like a natural gas line. So luckily we were nowhere near that. But and then, so what we settled on was these no-dig screws, which are pretty slick. I don't know how long they'll last or how sturdy they are, but it was relatively easy to pour some water a couple times a day on the spot where we wanted to screw it in. And then it took two of us turning in the righty-tighty direction, and it eventually went in. The other interesting thing is when I started this, these cost about $25 a piece. As of when I was making the slideshow, they're up to 40 bucks a piece. Go supply chain crap. And anyway, here's my summary page. There's a bunch of different websites that catalog where other free little galleries are. I think there's one in Monona. And then the other ones are a little bit farther away in terms of Wisconsin, but this one goes through a couple different state catalogs. I don't know if there's any one true source for finding them if you're interested in checking them out. If you want to look around online, there's a whole bunch of tags. I put some of the more common ones in here. And then if you're interested in seeing the progression of the one specifically that I installed, it's over in the Door Creek neighborhood. So if you go, it's on the far east side of town. If you take Cottage Grove out of town, you will eventually pass Metro Market and Sprecher Road, and then you'll have a tiny little road called Amnicon, and it's a left turn there and you will see it. And please do go drop off art or pick up art or just look at the Instagram. We'd love your traffic. I'm done. Any questions?
Can you show us pictures of what an art display looks like in there?
Yes, maybe. I did not leave it open, but hey, I have this link. So the other cool part of this is I'm not in charge of managing it all. You can see how we started in pieces, and I actually installed the floor with leftover pieces of some wood flooring that I had in my stash. This is us screwing it in on the day we picked, which was luckily well before everything froze. I have a building inspector that insisted on getting inside and on top of it. He knocked it over twice before I learned my lesson. This is what that screw eventually looked like. We did actually screw it in all the way down, so you can't even tell that it's a slightly less traditional. I don't, maybe those are traditional, maybe more people use them than I think, but that's where we're at. The other interesting thing that we learned is that when you make one of these and you tag it with those tags, there are like serial artists who will contact you relentlessly to be like, are you up yet? Are you up yet? Can I have your address? I would like to send you something. Can I send you something? Please give me your address. And we did not expect that. So like this lady who did this son like has a whole Instagram dedicated to sending her art out into the world. This guy who did the fox and this flying rat and other things actually runs another free little art gallery, and he's always asking for stuff, but I didn't realize he also made stuff. I just thought he ran both a regular gallery and a little one. As you can see, Hillary installed some lights so it can be lit up in the dark.
So Lima, how long was that screw post that you put in the ground? I've never seen anything like that.
I forget if it's 24 or 29 inches. So it's a reasonable length, but not like super frost heave safe, but we don't care about levels particularly.
But did you have to, and you said you had to soak the ground for a few days?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I convinced her to pour like 4 buckets of water over 2 days. And then we couldn't get it in the first day. So I left her with the rebar to use as a lever. And I said, well, pour some more water on it and try again tomorrow. If that doesn't work, pour more water and try again the next day.
Cool.
I'm actually testing one of these no screw posts or no dig posts at my house. I got a plasma cut sign to label my property and made a cantilevered post, and we'll see how it holds up. So far, so good.
House footings, you know, no dig house footings. We just put a longer pole on it, just keep screwing it down until we get below wrestling.
I can't really understand what you said, Chris.
Oh, all right. How about that? Am I louder? I think Brian's messing with the audio. So I said, Sean, do you think we could do no dig house foundation footings? We just do like a 5-foot pipe off the top of that thing and just keep screwing it down.
They do. It's called Goliath pier or helical piers. So you can, I don't know about a house, but they definitely are used to reinforce foundations, but just a smaller version of like a big screw pile you see on when they try to build in East Washington.
Anybody else got any questions? Lima, do you
Looks great.
Do you make art for the Little Free Galleries, or are you just the Little Free Gallery builder?
I do make art for it, and it gives me an excuse to drive that far east again. It's fun.
There is one in the neighborhood, like a couple blocks away from here. I don't know if it's on any of the maps, but I've walked by it. I think Heather got a formaldehyde fish out of it.
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna let her explain that one, but there's fish in a jar, and that was the art.
I'm gonna come check that out.
All right, Brian, you want to go next? Sure. All right. All right, you see the screen here? Touch notes.
Alright, so, talking about hydroponic system that I started off with, or that I'm kind of working on. And, the idea is, it's obviously not summer, but looking for seed starting and then hopefully, long-term growing non-fruiting vegetables. So these are your leaves, lettuces, your herbs, things like that. So at some point in time, I stumbled across this website, and this is made by a guy. He has like a lot of YouTube videos of sort of his journey of constructing a hydroponic system, kind of doing what I want to do. And he has a very well put together sort of overview, how to construct it, where to find components, type of guide. So I went through this and put together my version. So as you can kind of see here, he kind of has the system, the costs, sort of every little thing you need to go through. He talks about the main thing is kind of the rail system, which is a PVC-based system. One thing that's a little bit weird is he used these fence post jackets instead of PVC pipes. And like if you look at his YouTube videos, he explains why. It's like since the fence post jackets are square, it's easier to like put the little seed trays in there to make it lie flat instead of a PVC pipe. But he basically outlines everything that you need here. I did not go exactly through everything here. I did get the post jackets from Home Depot. Menards has something similar, but they have like slots in them. So like the Home Depot ones work well. But like generally everything else I can get from Menards, just kind of like normal PVC water piping systems. And like he literally goes through like, okay, here's the holes, set them up in each level, how far apart they are. So it's really a quite comprehensive thing. He has a method of sort of making these different rails and connecting them together with connectors. I call it as well. So it is a modular system, so you can, as if you want hole placing or something different, you can put them together in a different fashion. He also had the special version had these like bolt head fittings. It cost like $6 each. What I ended up doing was just kind of PVC gluing PVC parts straight to the fence post, and that seemed to do well. So kind of did one of these rails, glued them together, did a water test. I didn't have any leaks, and I gave me confidence to go to the next level, like do the other things. One thing that is interesting about since using fence post PVC, they're not actually watertight. So in order to, this is kind of his hack to get around, is you get this silicone glue and just sort of put it in the corners, because the PVC fence posts are just decorative. They're not meant to withhold water. So it's like, okay, we put some silicone glue and we really goober up the corners here, because that's where the gap is. You can make a watertight system. And I followed his things, and it seemed to work great. So the hair is kind of like a finished 2-rail system. He goes through everything. He goes through like, okay, you gotta put this on a rack. How do you build a rack? Like, how do you rack? Goes into like the reservoir system. So you just kind of take this basically a big tub. Hook it up. Talks about the different, pump sizes, if you have it up higher or lower. Similarly, lighting, he talks about his experiences with LEDs, different type of lightings, fluorescence. It's a real kind of simple system, and even like the nutrients. He sort of gives suggestions, and it's like there's a basic one where he's like, hey, if you use this nutrient system, generally most things work well. So it's like he did this with his lettuces, and he used this with his strawberries. So that's kind of things in the way. This. There we go. There. Thank you. And like one thing with these systems is, they talk about like pH system, like regulated. This guy says like if you follow the directions, you don't really have pH problems. So like he even went through like rain collection versus city water. It's like, yeah, I don't really have a problem. So it's kind of a real simple guide to get things going. Once you get things set up, the idea is you have this one rail that you start off with. That's the you plant the seedlings in. So and then he even gives you like, okay, we use these rapid rooters and these different net pipes, and we put the seeds in there. And he even says like, okay, the goal is you put the seeds in the seed starting rail, and then once you move them to the long growth rail, and then you can harvest them. So real simple thing. Hopefully it works out for me. Like I said, my goal is kind of to use this mainly for starting tomato plants. So I have a camera here. All right. So this camera, I don't know if you can see it. No, it was there, died on me. Well, maybe my camera's dead. All right. All right. Well, anyhow, I have everything set up. I have the water flowing. It's right there. Only if you can see it.
Can somebody there join on their phone and point their phone at it?
Yeah, look at it. So
I can confirm though, the strawberries are the size of your fist.
The audio is bad enough that I'm not sure if you said fist or some word that is inappropriate that starts with the letter T.
It was just trying to be helpful with being the same room with the microphone as a whole room this microphone. Yeah.
there we go. All right. So this is the rail system I put together. So as you kind of see, I took 4 rails. So this is my main reservoir. It's kind of dark in there, but there's a pump that basically hooks up to this main system here. And this is basically where you start the seeds. So like right there, I'm touching the water. So it's right up on the top here. And the idea is like, this is where you start and you go from each rail to rail. So you can see that like the height of this one is higher up than this one. So as the water flows this way, it gets lower, like there. That's how deep the paragraphs go for that one. This one, it was there. So the idea is like start the seeds here, you get long enough roots, move them over here, the roots will go to here. These are bigger holes as you get to bigger plants. So this is the taller one. Each one of these other three are kind of at the same level, and then this is where the water comes in. So it has a lot of these connectors. So I might make another seed start version, put it here instead of this one, just to like have spring to start things up. So, this has been running for an hour or so, no leaks. It's been going well, so I've been very confident about it, and it seems to be going well. So, any questions?
So it's pretty big. Like, are you going to put this in your basement or like in your living room? It's like a very big piece of furniture now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's going to be a basement. This length is about 3 feet. I want to say this is 2.5, 2.5 to 3. So it's very much a counter or a wire rack type system. That's what I'm going for.
Perfect use of a basement.
Well, the basement is a dungeon of spiders and darkness. So anything that alleviates that is better. So.
Other questions, Mr. Brad? Anybody else do hydroponic stuff? Anybody else do legal hydroponic stuff? I'm still, you can grow those things in Monona apparently legally. I did not know, or semi-legally. Sean, go ahead.
So Brian, if you're gonna put it in your basement, are you gonna have like an enclosure to keep the temperatures warm? Because starting plants
so I do keep my house cold. One of my problems, I think, with my winter gardening is I have irrational reasons that not turn on the temperature. So the idea is to put this in some sort of like plastic enclosure or something else that at least keeps the heat in a little bit. So at least during the harsher months. The last couple days it's been 30, right? So it's been good. But like my basement generally stays around 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So.
And what are you doing for lights?
So I was going to use some like LED lights. If you go into Amazon, there's this company called Mars Hydro, which is seems like they do a lot of weed stuff. That's like a lot of logos, but yeah, that's what I'm going for. For like the O2 levels, one thing I need to do is actually get a fish tank bubbler to actually pump oxygen into it. So that's another system that needs to be added into this. So there's like a couple things of like O2 and pH. Actually adding oxygen to the water, I do need to like enrich this with this atmosphere.
Are you adding oxygen to the water? I was thinking of CO2 systems, places where they pump CO2.
Yeah, from what I've read, some plants need just oxygen, and there's different systems where people like they'll take this water reservoir, fill it up, drop it down, and the roots can actually get O2 or something from the atmosphere to fill in what they need, and then it goes back up. So they do need some atmosphere intervention.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Brian. Kate, you want to take it away?
Sounds good. Okay, I am going to share screen. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about a robot that I made to feed my pet rabbit, who's named Clover. She's probably without a doubt like the cutest little animal in the world. So I've had her for